What is up, car addicts? So recently, Rockstar has decided to give us pretty much all the remaining drip feed cars for the Money Fronts DLC only a week after the release of the DLC. And we only have one drip feed vehicle left that hasn't released yet officially, and that's the Drift Walton. So I figured I'd put together a list for you guys on what cars to buy and avoid from this DLC based on multiple factors including performance, customization, driving feel, car model detail, and of course my personal opinion on the cars overall. So we have 13 purchasable new vehicles in this DLC, but again, the Drift Walton is not officially out yet, so I will not be including that one in this list. So this will be a top 12 list, with number 12 being my least favorite car from the DLC, and obviously number 1 being my personal favorite car from this DLC. So let's get started with number 12. We have the Bobcat Security Stockade. So why is this at the bottom of the list? Well, it's a Pegasus vehicle, which means it offers no customization, and over $2.4 million for this thing I think is a bit overpriced when it offers nothing special except for a livery, especially when we already have the regular Group 6 liveried Stockade that released with the casino update back in 2019. The fact that you have to buy this entirely new Stockade again just for a livery is ridiculous to me. Moving on to number 11, I'm sure most of you saw this coming. We have the Grotti LSCM Cheetah Classic. This car offers no visual customization. Thankfully, you can remove the livery, which is nice. This was a problem with the Jester RR wide body from a few DLCs ago, but Rockstar finally allowed us to remove the livery from that one, and of course now on the new Cheetah Classic that's included. But the fact Rockstar didn't at least try to give us a few options from the regular Cheetah Classic variant that already exists in game, hood options, spoilers, something, it's very annoying. And then to top it off, Rockstar forgot to give us a trim color option for the interior. This was available for the LSCM Jester RR and of course the regular Cheetah Classic, but for some reason not this LSCM Cheetah Classic. And what makes it even more frustrating is that players can actually glitch the interior trim color onto the car, but for players who don't do glitches, they can't normally change the interior of their $2 million car with literally no visual customization. I think that's a bit ridiculous. Next up, on to number 10, we have the Walton L35 stock. So why is this so far down the list? Well, it's because Rockstar copied and pasted all the visual upgrades and liveries from the regular off-road lifted Walton L35 and didn't add any new visual options. The L35 stock is supposed to be, a street truck, very low to the ground, and the fact that you're restricted to mostly off-road style upgrades is very annoying. Now, from what I've heard, the Drift Walton will have some street style upgrades when it releases, so that might be the one to get. However, that one is forced with drift tuning, which some people might not want when they just want to drive around normally. It's very frustrating, and the whole naming situation too doesn't really make much sense. The regular one is a lifted one, then the stock is supposed to be the regular, and then the drift version. They could have just done all this with maybe one truck and then upgrade it in different places, and bennies for the lift kit, and then the drift tuning option for the lowered one with the wide body. But they decided to make it 3 separate vehicles, just very confusing, and obviously it cost you more money. Continuing to number 9, we have the police bike. So this thing has a normal price of almost $5 million, which I think is a bit ridiculous. Obviously police vehicles are overpriced in general, but this thing is way up there. Now granted, it does come with a police outfit, which is cool, and the bike itself has visual customization. For those of you who remember the Western Sovereign, that thing only costs $120,000. So you're basically paying over $4.8 million more for the same bike, but with the livery removed, obviously visual customization applied, and police lights / sirens. Again, the police bike is a pretty decent bike, but it's just way overpriced in my personal opinion for what it is. Moving on to number 8, we have the Overflod Suzume. So another $3 million electric supercar based on a car no one has ever heard of. They did the same thing with the Pipistrello, and no one really liked that car either. And then they decided to do the same thing again with the Suzume, but worse. So this car has terrible fitment with the back wheels compared to the front. It has a massive gap where the rear quarter panels they just sit way higher than the tire, and the suspension doesn't really help that much either if you lower it. And then we also have the issue with the sunstrip upgrade option that's broken and it sits between the seats instead of the windshield. And then the back end of this car to me is just terrible looking, especially the taillights. They're just super low quality. And in regards to performance, you'd think for this amount of money, maybe it would be, a top 10 performing supercar. It's not. It sits around 15th place for most tracks with similar performance to the XA21 and the Torero XO. I don't understand why Rockstar didn't at least offer HSW for this car to at least make it somewhat justifiable. Honestly, the entire car is just a flop in my opinion. Next up, on to number 7, we have the Karin Everon RS. So my expectations for this truck were pretty high, a nice full-size pickup truck that we haven't had in a while, and this thing was just a massive letdown to me. Why was it a massive letdown? Well, number one, this is a pickup truck that Rockstar has placed in the SUVs class. Secondly, the customization is extremely lackluster. Only a few options in each category, and most of them don't really make much sense. Why are the bumper options a couple off-road push bars on a street truck when you can't even lift it to make it like a normal or off-road truck? It's a forced street truck, so why is there off-road style customization? Also, some of the liveries are broken. The intercooler clips through the bottom grille. The front windshield forcibly tints when you apply normal tints to the vehicle. Just very underwhelming overall. Personally, if I was Rockstar, I would have added, a normal off-road variant of this truck and then done the regular street Everon RS with maybe like drift tuning or something, or HSW. That would have made a lot more sense. But only giving us this one as the only option, it's a bit annoying and underwhelming. Continuing to number 6, we have the Rapid GTX. So this one was decently made, but the $2.7 million price tag to me is ridiculous for a sports car, and the fact that they used Tesla Model 3 headlights on an Aston Martin to me just ruins the entire car. I strongly dislike those headlights. And then one of the splitter options has an issue where a shade of the livery transfers to it for some reason. Now, going back to the price, maybe the performance justifies the price, right? Well, not really. This thing sits around 20th place in the sports class for most tracks, and to me, I think that's pretty terrible considering this car is going to cost you over $3 million with upgrades. Obviously, performance is not everything, but at this price, you kind of expect it to at least be somewhat competitive with the top 10 cars, but it's not. Moving on to number 5, this is where we have the good stuff. So, starting off with number 5, we have the Annus Minimus. So this one is honestly not too bad, minus the Bentley W12 engine model, but it's a weird MPC car pick for sure, obviously from GTA 6, but it has some pretty good customization and sort of nice to drive. It's decently competitive in the sedans class, so it has that going for it, and honestly I think considering the current GTA economy where essentially, every new car costs over $1 million, I don't think it's too bad for its price. Now, obviously, it's still overpriced in general considering what it is, but I don't think it's ridiculously unreasonable either, again, factoring in the current GTA economy. Next up, on to number 4, we have the Annus Hardy. The customization of this car is incredible. Tons of options, including the Bosozoku style customization parts and drift tuning that will be available for it in the drip feed later on. This car gives me, tuner DLC vibes, which I really like, and for its price, I honestly think it's well worth it. Alright, now the top 3. So, my top 3 favorite cars of a DLC, the ones that I think you should definitely consider buying if you have to buy, 3 cars from this DLC. Starting off with number 3, we have the Karin Woodlander. This thing has great customization, it has an available HSW upgrade, and it's very competitive in the SUVs class with that HSW upgrade. I love the exhaust note taken from the Sultan, and it's just a really nice car to drive overall. It's a Subaru Forester STI, definitely a random pick from Rockstar, but honestly I think a clever pick and a fun one considering the customization and the HSW upgrade. Moving on to number 2, we have the Tampa GT. This thing is so much fun to drive, especially with the HSW upgrade it offers. It handles like an old muscle car should, and the customization and styling is top notch. Rockstar really did a great job with this one. Now granted, the brakes are terrible. It feels like you're driving on snow when you brake, and it does like to clip on curbs for some reason and go flying in the air, but overall it's just a stupidly fun car to drive, which is what a true muscle car should be. And lastly, on to number 1, I'm sure most of you have already guessed, but it's going to be the Sentinel GTS. This is definitely the highlight of the DLC, a car the community has been wanting for a long time, and Rockstar definitely delivered with phenomenal customization options, an extremely detailed and realistic car model, great exhaust note and driving feel, etc. It's almost perfect. The only thing I wish Rockstar would have done is maybe improve the handling a little bit. It gets a bit tail happy when you're pushing at higher speeds, and maybe offer HSW for it. But other than that, this is one of the better cars I've added in a long time. Just like the Banshee GTS in the last DLC, Rockstar really knocked it out of the park with this M3. But there you guys have it. Those are my top picks for all the cars in the Money Fronts DLC. Obviously not counting the Drift Walton. Now, obviously opinions vary, but I feel I created a pretty fair list considering a combination of both factual and subjective opinion. But definitely let me know what you guys think down below in the comments as to what your favorite and least favorite cars are from this DLC. Thanks again for watching, guys. Hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.